Picture the moment you crack open the barn door in the morning. The light hasn't quite settled yet. The air is cool and a little damp, and the smell of hay is the first thing that hits you. The second you step inside, your horse turns its head away or takes a step back from the brush in your hand. A small movement, almost too small to notice. Most owners let it pass without a second thought. Just being difficult again, they think, and go on with the day. It's a scene nearly every horse owner has run into at some point. Maybe you have too. But is this really about temperament? A recent study on horse welfare shows that movements like these are often nothing more than the surface expression of a chronic pain that's been building beneath the skin. If these quiet reactions were nothing but a personality trait, how would you explain different horses in different barns, all across the very same regions, reacting the exact same way? It's easy to write this off as a one-time coincidence or a passing bout of restlessness. But when the same reaction shows up again and again on different days in different animals, it stops being coincidence. It becomes a pattern. These small neglects aren't isolated incidents. They build on each other over time, and slowly wear down the bond between you and your horse. It's true that horses are resilient animals, but that truth shouldn't let us overlook the physical discomfort they endure in silence. Resilience might be a virtue, but once it becomes an owner's excuse, it works against the horse. For you, daily care might be nothing more than a habit, one item on a list, one part of the day. But that same routine becomes either a source of peace or a source of stress for your horse, and the answer starts taking shape the moment you walk through the barn door, before you're even aware of it. Just because you repeat the same movements every day doesn't mean they carry the same meaning for your horse. Most horse owners think of care as nothing more than a physical cleaning job. Knocking the dust off, getting the horse ready to ride. The horse's resilient build makes that misconception easy to hold on to, because small neglects don't produce a visible result right away. The problem builds up quietly, often until it becomes impossible to miss. But this approach sets aside the horse's anatomical needs and emotional sensitivity. This routine isn't a task list. It's an experience your horse lives through every single day, and it forms the foundation of the trust between you. One small friction point, one wrong touch, can completely change how your horse looks at you, and that comes from the method you're using, not from the horse's character. Two owners can groom the same horse on the same day for the same amount of time, but one leaves trust behind and the other leaves unease. If you'd like to help us take a closer look at this process, you can support what we're exploring here by liking this video. There's a widespread belief that horses are simply tough by nature, and that belief reduces daily care to an ordinary cleaning chore. A single brush stroke or the moment you slip the halter on is often shaped not by what the horse needs, but by whatever time pressure the owner is under that day. That rush pushes the horse's physical comfort down the priority list. An unnoticed sensitivity gradually transforms into a hidden, escalating pain. Since horses cannot articulate this pain verbally, they manifest it through restlessness or fidgeting during care. Here's where the real turning point comes in. We tend to assume these behaviors are a personality trait or plain stubbornness because that's all we can see. Resistance, avoidance. But observations tell a different story. The reaction your horse patiently puts up with is actually a signal of a much deeper physical discomfort. This isn't a single behavior being misread. It's a chain of signals repeating over days and weeks, slipping by unnoticed. And every time you label it temperament, the real cause falls one step further out of reach. So where does this chain actually start? The first link in that chain is hiding somewhere most owners never think to look, precisely because it's so ordinary it's become invisible. The brush in your hand, the halter around your horse's neck. These objects touching the horse's skin are usually treated as nothing more than accessories. But in reality, equipment choice is one of the most critical variables in determining your horse's day-to-day comfort. Stiff synthetic bristles or leather pieces with poor stitching create friction points on the horse's body that you can't see, points that turn, with every movement, into a chronic source of pressure irritating the skin. Think about it. Grooming is supposed to be a calming, bonding moment for the horse, but poor quality equipment can turn it into a painful process instead. While we're trying to figure out why a horse is restless, the answer is often sitting right there in the stiffness of the brush or the stitching on the halter, and we skip right past it. Maybe even right now, reading this, take a second to think about the bristles on your own brush or the stitching on your halter. Is equipment choice just a matter of cost? Or is it the real source of the reactions we chalk up to the horse's character? That distinction directly shapes your horse's daily comfort. Every choice you make on the equipment shelf reshapes your horse's day from the start, often without you noticing at all. A horse pulling its head back during haltering or unable to stand still during grooming isn't merely being difficult. It's directly expressing physical discomfort. Observations indicate these avoidance behaviors often stem from ill-fitting equipment or unseen friction points on the skin. While you see grooming as a bonding ritual, your horse in that moment might just be trying to get away from pain. The two of you can share the exact same moment and still be feeling completely different things. Think about this. If you realized you'd been misreading these messages your horse has been sending you, what's the first thing you'd change about your routine? Maybe the answer is hidden in that brush or halter we just talked about. Or maybe what really needs to change isn't the object in your hand, but the way you look at it. In most barns, grooming sessions get treated as a routine task. But these moments are actually the biggest source of feedback your horse can give you. Every rushed brush stroke either reinforces or chips away at the trust the animal has in you. Observations show that this interaction isn't just a moment of physical hygiene, but an emotional synchronization as well. A harsh brush stroke or the wrong angle can trigger a horse's defensive reactions, and these small responses, even when they usually go unnoticed, are silent messages your horse is sending you. Often they're so small they never even register. If these messages keep getting ignored, the bridge of trust between you starts to wear away, slowly, without you realizing it. A horse's restlessness isn't a flaw in its character. It's a pain signal going unnoticed in the daily routine. A horse that avoids the brush or turns its head away while being haltered isn't being stubborn with you. It's communicating the pain it feels in that moment the only way it can, by pulling away, because its own body is the only tool it has. When you write this off as a character trait, your horse's trust fades away too, little by little, and that loss usually doesn't happen in a single day, but through months of small neglects. The truth is often hidden in the stiffness of the brush or the wrong fit of the halter. Care, in the end, isn't about checking a task off a list. It's the daily rebuilding of a silent language between you and your horse. Even the smallest change in your routine can completely change how your horse looks at you. What you often dismiss as just an accessory or just a brush stroke is really a single word in that silent language. Choose the wrong word, and your horse stops talking to you. Choose the right one, and you keep speaking the same language, often with a fluency neither of you fully notices. This language isn't spoken in words, but in touch, timing, and patience. The difference comes down to the quiet harmony between finishing a job and doing that job together with your horse. If a small detail in your equipment can change this much on its own, there's another factor moving just as quietly right behind it: the order of your own daily routine. According to studies, a horse's digestive system and psychological balance are directly tied to the inconsistencies it's exposed to over the course of a day. If a feeding routine that's early one day and late the next throws off your horse's internal clock, that doesn't just create hunger. It plants a deep doubt in your horse's mind about whether its surroundings are even safe. That doubt shows up in how the horse carries itself in the barn, and in how it reacts to its rider. You might see it as nothing more than an hour's difference. For your horse, it means total uncertainty about when and how its day is even going to unfold. A horse's daily routine works like a kind of predictability map: feed arriving at the same time every day, care handled in the same order. These are the fixed points on that map. When the map breaks down, the horse's stress hormones climb. So why does that rise in hormones limit not just riding performance, but the emotional bond the horse feels toward you? The answer lies in how much the horse trusts its surroundings. In an environment it doesn't trust, it can't fully let its guard down with you, because letting go requires trusting first. Expert observations show that a horse's daily physical checks aren't just for catching illness. They're also a chance to understand the animal's psychological state. When a small swelling on a horse's back or leg goes unnoticed by its rider, the horse tries to compensate for the pain on its own, walking with its muscles tensed in an unusual way to hide the sore spot. Over time, that can lead to permanent joint problems or muscle imbalances. What looks to a rider like a minor limp is actually an early warning of a much bigger risk to the horse's quality of life. A study on this found that owners who run regular physical exams see a 40% higher success rate in communicating with their horses. It's striking that a habit this small can lead to a difference this big. Maybe the gap here is the one between simply riding a horse and actually knowing it. When you run your hands over the same spots every day, you learn what normal feels like, and the smallest thing that strays from normal catches your attention. What matters here isn't just catching problems. It's being able to read the changes in your horse's body. Systematic observation is the only way to decode the story your horse is quietly telling. Equipment, routine, feeding schedule, all of it matters, but none of it is the only thing shaping your horse's peace of mind. Maybe the most invisible of these systemic causes is hidden in the social structure of the horse's environment. Horses are, by nature, animals built to live in herds, but barn setups often ignore that social need completely and leave the horse isolated. Isolation also shuts off the horse's natural outlets for releasing stress. A horse unable to make eye contact with peers or isolated from social interaction retreats inward, explaining increased resistance during grooming or haltering. Expecting emotional openness from your horse without meeting its social needs isn't realistic. Social interaction works like a shield protecting your horse's mental health. And when that shield weakens, your horse's trust in you becomes more vulnerable to outside pressures. 2. A horse that's left alone doesn't come to you fully even when it does come to you. Part of it stays behind in that emptiness. The common belief that personal details don't matter is actually one of the things that weakens the bond with a horse the most. A nameplate carrying the horse's name, or a piece of equipment set aside just for it, looks to most owners like nothing more than an aesthetic choice. A decoration, a bit of showing off. But here's the odd part. In your relationship with your horse, these small personal touches represent the value and attention you give it, without a single word being said. A horse knows what belongs to it. A grooming kit prepared just for your horse, or a brush used only on it, strengthens its sense of ownership, and these details move the bond between you out of an employer-employee relationship and into a partnership. People tend to write these details off as unnecessary decoration, but in a horse's world, every object carries meaning, the same way some ordinary items aren't actually so ordinary to you, either. And here's the strange part. It's not the big decisions we assume matter most, but these small details we never think twice about that often carry more weight in a horse's eyes. That nameplate, just an ordinary piece of metal to you, is, for your horse, a symbol reinforcing its identity and its belonging to you. A detail that looks small but isn't small at all. What turns the care process from a task list into a silent dialogue with your horse is consistency in these routines. Inconsistency shakes your horse's sense of trust right down to the foundation. When you brush gently one day and rush through grooming the next, your horse can't make sense of your intention. It just fears the change in your behavior, because it has no way of predicting which version of you it's about to meet. In a horse's world, trust is built through consistency, which means showing up at the same time with the same care every single day. If you want to earn your horse's trust, you need to focus less on the physical result of the care and more on the intention you bring to every moment of the process, because horses read your state of mind while you're doing the work, not the outcome of the work itself. Your hurry and your calm both pass on to your horse whether you realize it or not. Now let's bring it all together. A harsh brush, a confused feeding time, an unnoticed ache in the back, a day spent alone, or a detail you'd call just a nameplate. These seemingly unrelated pieces all lead to the same place. They look different. They show up at different moments of the day, but they all trace back to one source. A discomfort or a sense of insecurity your horse is quietly trying to tell you about. What we initially labeled stubbornness was always a message your horse had no other means to convey. Dismissing it as temperament means failing to hear that message, and each missed instance further erodes the silent communication between you. The good news is that the reverse holds true, too. Fixing these small details doesn't just bring physical comfort. It rebuilds that language between you and your horse. The smallest change in your routine can completely change how your horse looks at you. Now that you know every reaction has meaning on your next visit to the barn, take the time not just to finish the job, but to understand that silent language, too. When you think about what these details mean to your horse, you'll see that the difference isn't just about care, it's about partnership. And that partnership isn't built in a single day. It's built with patience. So what do you think? Have there been small details you feel like you've missed in your communication with your horse? Share your own experiences in the comments and subscribe to the channel for more breakdowns like this one.